Have you ever really looked at a pigeon? That ordinary bird on the street, eating crumbs, ignored by everyone? What if I told you that this bird is connected to one of the most amazing stories in war history? A story where birds were smarter than machines, where tiny pigeons saved thousands of lives, and where scientists started mixing animals with technology in crazy ways. For thousands of years, humans noticed something amazing about pigeons. If you take a pigeon 100 miles away from home and let it go, it flies straight back. Ancient kings like Cyrus in Persia and Julius Caesar in Rome used pigeons to send messages across huge distances. But this was just the beginning. The real story starts in the modern world. In 1870, Paris was completely surrounded by enemy soldiers during a war. Over 1 million people were trapped inside. No phone lines, no internet, no way to send messages out. The French government had a brilliant idea. They took photos of messages and made them super tiny, microfilm. One pigeon could carry messages with 40,000 words on tiny film. They put pigeons in hot air balloons, flew them out of the city, and the birds flew back carrying secret information. Over 800 pigeons made this dangerous journey. Enemy soldiers shot at them, trained hawks hunted them, but more than half succeeded. They delivered hundreds of thousands of messages that kept Paris connected to France. This proved that pigeons weren't old-fashioned. They were biological technology that worked better than machines. When World War I started in 1914, armies had new technology, radios. But there was a huge problem. Early military radios weighed over 100 pounds, broke easily, could be jammed by enemies, often just didn't work. So armies brought back pigeons. France used 72,000 pigeons. Britain used 100,000. Germany trained 120,000. Why? Because pigeons had 95% success rates, way better than radios. In October 1918, 550 American soldiers were trapped behind enemy lines in France. Worse, their own army was accidentally bombing them. All their radios were destroyed. They had one last hope, a pigeon named Cher, which means dear friend in French. They tied a desperate message to Cher leg and released the bird. German soldiers immediately started shooting. Bullets hit Cher, one bullet through the chest, lost one eye, one leg almost shot off, but Cher kept flying. Bleeding and half dead, this tiny bird flew 25 miles in 25 minutes and delivered the message. The bombing stopped. 194 soldiers survived because of that brave pigeon. France gave Cher a military medal. You can still see this hero bird today at the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C. By World War II, 1939 to 1945, radios were better, but pigeons were still incredibly important. Britain had over 250,000 pigeons in military service. The U.S. trained 54,000 pigeons. They were used when planes crashed, radios failed, spies needed to send secret messages, ships lost communication. Here's one of the coolest spy operations ever. When the Nazis controlled parts of Europe, British spies needed information from inside enemy territory. So they came up with a crazy plan. Dropped 16,000 pigeons with parachutes into Nazi-controlled areas. Each pigeon had a note asking people, please tell us where German soldiers and weapons are. People would write down information, tie it to the pigeon, and let it go. The bird would then fly back to England, often crossing over 100 miles of ocean. Over 50% came back successfully. That's more than 8,000 intelligence reports from deep inside enemy territory. The Nazis tried to stop it. They killed people who helped. They used hawks to hunt the pigeons, but the operation kept working. Okay, this sounds like science fiction, but it's 100% real. In 1943, B.F. Skinner asked, what if pigeons could guide missiles? The idea was simple but genius. Put a pigeon inside a missile's nose. Show the pigeon a screen with the target. train the pigeon to peck at the target, connect the pecks to the missile's steering. The pigeon becomes a living autopilot. The U.S. military funded this as Project Pigeon, and guess what? It actually worked. Pigeons could guide test missiles with amazing accuracy. But military leaders thought it was too weird, so they canceled it in 1944. Then they brought it back in 1948 as Project Orcon and tested it until 1953. Eventually, electronic systems got better and they didn't need pigeon pilots anymore. But for years, this was real, funded research. During the Cold War, 1947 to 1991, the CIA had another brilliant idea: attach tiny cameras to pigeons. The bird would fly over secret military bases or government buildings, the camera would automatically take photos, and the pigeon would fly home. Then spies would develop the film. Why use pigeons instead of spy planes? Because nobody suspects a pigeon. A plane or helicopter would be noticed and shot down, but a bird flying overhead? Totally normal. Perfect disguise. We know this is real because actual CIA pigeon cameras are in the CIA museum right now. Many details are still secret, but the program definitely existed. Today, we have satellites, drones, and the internet, so are spy pigeons finally done? Well, yes and no. In 2020, Indian police caught a pigeon near the Pakistan border with markings on its leg. They thought it might be a spy. After investigating, it was just a racing pigeon. The same thing happened in Mumbai in 2023. A pigeon with Chinese writing was held for 8 months before experts said it was just a racing bird from Taiwan. These stories show that people still worry about spy pigeons because of their history. But here's where it gets really interesting. The military is now building robot birds that look and fly like real birds. These drones have flapping wings and blend into the environment, just like pigeons did. Even crazier, scientists are putting computer chips in real pigeon brains. In 2025, a Russian company called Neri started testing this. They put tiny electrodes in a pigeon's brain that can control which direction the bird flies. It's like a remote control bird. The U.S. military, DARPA, is doing similar research with beetles and other animals. Why? Because real animals have advantages. No batteries needed, they eat food, make smart decisions on their own, look completely natural, perfect disguise. But this also raises big ethical questions. Is it right to control animals this way? Many scientists say no. It's a controversial topic that we're still figuring out. So the next time you see a pigeon on the street, remember, that ordinary bird is connected to an extraordinary history.